Kevin, KE7K. I, along will be your net control stations for this evening's East Coast Reflector TechNet. We appreciate it very much. Normal order job. Charles.
And everyone else. B3B said, Kevin, Victoria, portion of the net. One listing, see, that's from Gil, K4GDS. Selling a Zygu X100 QRP radio. It's ideal for parks on the air or summits on the air. All mode HF and 6 meters, covers 500 kilohertz to 30 megahertz and 50 megahertz. Has a built-in antenna tuner, 3000 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery, and a 4-inch high-resolution color screen. It also includes a LiFePO4 external battery, an MF20T 20-meter telescopic antenna. He has also replaced the microphone coily cord with a straight one, which makes it easier. Interested, contact Gil by email, and Gil's email is k4gds@icloud.com. Only thing I have this week, if you have anything for sale, just go to Reflector. Contact PCR and I don't think. With Charles. On the night. Thank you, Roger, for taking and thank you. As far as the question is concerned, I think a month ago, our neighbors sure and dry. Signal out of the dryer. That kind of sounds like so. HF receiver is on 15 meters. So what's going on? And I'm going to try and work with them, figure out how to deviate that. In any event, the topic tonight is analyze what could I buy better? Unfortunately, you are frequency. So there is some overlap in devices. Different. They both measure the in 11, but those and the frequency measure how on that here. Make it, you're going to get your number. You don't have to think, you know, there's mom, I bet you they going double. Reflection. Basically, you go back from your transit, you and told you to know with the notation. Measures reflection at some level. Also measure with you'll hear people refer to as S21. That allows you and pass to coax, co-continuations, duplexers, Addy Smith, for everybody. And trade-off here. You definitely cannot use in that to be rugged there. You don't need to calibrate or anything like that. You just put it on the street. So there. For me, that you can a ladder with you and utilize it there, and you're going to get SWR more out of your antenna analyzer. The next and small has a small touch screen that are not particularly bright. Can be washed out by the sun, sunlight, and again, you have to calibrate it all the time. The other half of that trade-off is that antenna analyzers typically run anywhere from $200 to $500. They can be higher than $200 to $500. Nano VNA, H4, already is good for $100, but it's more of a bench than it is a field unit. So, which one should you get? Basically, if you want something that's plug and play, you hook it up, get your FWR, you get and it might be the way to go. By the same token, if you want to take it up on a tower or or something like that, just need an immediate FWR sweep without jumping through some hoops to calibrate and analyze your best choice there. And if you like big physical buttons, an easy to read bright screen, construct analyzer. Want to luminosity factor, all this kind of thing. The nano VNA is the one that's going to do that for you. And if you don't mind learning to use the interface, just from learning, the nano VNA is your choice. Reset. So, the bottom line here is that it depends on your operating style. Quick, out in the field, foolproof, easy to use, to check your antenna when you set up maybe on a POTA or a SOTA activation. Get an antenna analyzer. Yeah, you're going to pay more for it, but it's going to fit that operating style better. Do a lot of implementation. Maybe you want to do some duplexer work. If you have a repeater, something like that, or you do like say antenna experimentation, playing around with stuff like I do, DNA is going to be a better choice for you. Frankly, that is an exercise in futility, and it could be worse because you could get distracted and fall off the ladder. And there's things around. So, keep in mind there's no 100% correct answer whether you need an analyzer or an OVNA, because they do things differently and they fit different styles. And that's the great thing about ham radio is we don't all like the same things. We don't all need to do things, and just we all did everything exactly the same. So evaluate that. Pick the one that fits your particular operating style best, and go with that, because that's going to be your best answer. So back over to Ken. This is KC6 UFM.
Great, thank you, Charles. Appreciate all the effort you put into those each week. Have you back. All right, we move on to new users. This is a section of the net where if you have not been to this net before, you may have been on the Reflector before, you've been on another net before. That's great. We love that. But if you haven't been on the TechNet before, this is your one and only chance to get in up at the top. So if that is you, please come now with your GRN KC2. Hey, good evening, Joel. GRN. I'll ask you to stand by for general check-ins if you don't mind. I'm showing you in 4 times before with us, so appreciate it. But we'll ask you to wait for the general check-ins. This is KE7K. My name's Kevin. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I'm your net control station for the East Coast Reflector TechNet. We are currently looking for users new to the TechNet. Please come now with your call sign.
Juliet 5, Lima Charlie Oscar, again, KJ video, and I apologize. I've checked into a TechNet, but I don't know that it was on the East Coast. So if I have, I apologize, and I'll wait my turn, gladly.
KF0ZFT, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Zulu Foxtrot, Tango, this is Riker in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
KF0ZFT, stand by just for a minute. We got KJ5 LCO, quite a local packet loss there. Just want to verify that call sign.
Hey, this is J5 LCO Kilo Juliet 5 Lima Charlie Oscar. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, Bodie. And I will apologize for letting you know you'll have to stand by. And we show you checked in with us before. So general check-ins are coming up here probably about 6:15 or so, around right 6 o'clock East Coast time. Riker in Minnesota, good evening. KFZFT, feel free to introduce yourself to the net if you like and answer tonight's question. What's the biggest source of noise at your QTH?
Is on like a repeater or what, I guess.
Yeah, with noise, we're talking about interference that either you're receiving or maybe is preventing you from getting into something else. But mainly the noise in your QTH, the interference that you're dealing with in your QTH.
I don't really have much interference, I don't believe, but if anything, it'd be the trees, I guess.
Yeah, very good, Riker. Thanks for checking in, and I'm glad you got a clean check there. You'd know it if you had interference. Thanks for participating. All right, we're again open for any stations new to the TechNet. Please come now with your call sign.
So, Romeo Juliet Charlie, KD7 RJC Tannen, Tempe, Arizona.
I have moved the node that I use for this net to the other side of my keyboard, and I've got a button that I hit to keep reaching to the left side, and nothing's happening. And it takes me a while to figure out it's over on the other side. Tannen, welcome to the East Coast Reflector as a whole. Don't look like we've heard your call sign on the air before. KD7 RJC, what's the biggest source of noise at your QTH, Tannen?
Most likely, I'd have to call it alternator interference or other vehicle. I'm basically only mobile at this point, KD7 RJC.
Hey, thanks for checking in. It's fun to see where these questions go and what polls we get about the possible answers. All right, again, we are open to the TechNet. Please come now with your call sign.
So Echo 2, Bravo, Quebec X-ray, KE2, VQX, Xavier, New Jersey.
Good evening, James. Welcome to the TechNet. Welcome to the Reflector. Looks like you have a public email address on QRZ, so we'll be sending you a welcome letter when the process is logged tonight. But for the time being, welcome. Introduce yourself and answer tonight's question. What's the biggest source of noise at your QTH?
hope everybody's doing well. I just figured out E-Star. I'm on an ICOM ID50. I'm a musician out here in New Jersey. I play country music, bands, deep brook bands, Juliet, Delta, Brooklyn, and we just like to have a bit of fun. It is the biggest noise around me. A lot of hours here. I'm not sure if that would actually affect anything, but if I were to guess, that might be it for me.
Thanks for checking in, James. I hope to hear you regular here going forward. Open for any users new. Please call sign. Sure always gives me a big pat on the back for how many new users I see out. This is going to bring my average way down, unfortunately. Let's try to get a couple more new users, please. New users only. Call signs, please.
This is Kilo Quebec 4, Echo Sierra Quebec, KQ4 ESQ, John in Pell City, Alabama.
Station on the voice phone. You're still keyed up. There we go. Thank you. John, KQ4 ESQ. I got you. And Ken, AJC, asked you to stand by just for a minute. A previous check-in. John, Pell City, Alabama. Good evening, John. KQ4 ESQ. What's the big noise at your QT8?
Wish I knew. We've only lived at this QTH for about half now, and you would think that would belong in the time to have your ham shack 100% up and going, but it's really not. And right now I'm very limited in what I'm doing. I do a lot of HF digital though, and stuff is very susceptible to noise. So there are some things around here that generate. I'm thankful that wants my power supply is a bad source of noise. So I've taken that one out of production and gone to a backup. And I did one day turn the entire house off at the mains, and I was amazed at how quiet it was. So there are places around here that's causing noise, but I honestly can't say what they are yet because I haven't had the time to deal with it. But I just wanted to check in, and I'll try to join net as often as I can. I got other going on here locally, but I've been playing with All-Star Link and got a node connected for myself, and I've been listening to the East Coast Reflector. Really enjoying it, so I'll be trying to join more nets as I go. And I'll turn it back over to you before I time it out. KQ4 ESQ.
I completely understand how long it takes to get a shack back together. I moved mine from out in a little garage area inside a couple years ago, three years ago probably, and I'm still working on setting it back up so I really want it. So, and good call on shutting off the mains. An absolutely great way to start troubleshooting, figure out whether it's in your house or not. You can eliminate a lot of things real quick by doing that. Thanks for checking in, John. Look forward to hearing you in the future. This is KE7K, your net control station for tonight's East Coast Reflector TechNet. Still looking for a couple more users new to the please come now with your call sign. Brett, got you. Whoops. 3. SJA. What's the noise at your QTH?
Echo 3, Sierra Juliet Alpha, just connected to the reflector here, was just going to monitor in progress, but we'll drop a beat in the pot there. The biggest source of noise in my, well, that's probably me. I just got a bunch of stereo audio equipment and been kind of playing around with that, so that's probably been the noise around the shack. But turn it back to net control, BE3 SAA.
Appreciate your participation, Brett. Yeah, Vicky likes to grab those from the monitor there, so you key up, she's going to snag you. Thanks for participating, Brett. Okay, final call for any users new to the TechNet. Please come now. All right, nothing heard. We'll move on to the question portion of tonight's agenda. If you have an amateur radio related technical question, please come now with your call sign.
I'll break the ice. K0 and FPS. K7 FPS. Or MMX.
All right, from the bottom up, I recognize Craig, Oakland Park, Florida, KMMX. Mark in Plymouth, Minnesota, N0CKV, and Fred in Reno, Nevada, K7PS. Fred, I think you just snuck in there. First, go ahead with your question, please.
Question first. LED lights. I notice sometimes whenever the radio is near it and I'm transmitting, you get a bit of a buzz. Anyway, my question is with extension to Charles' topic for the night regarding antennas. I have SureCom SW102s inline into the shack, and I remember Charles mentioning before dual sweep meters. And do you like analog or digital, Charles? FPS?
Go ahead, Charles.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, Fred, I'm kind of a traditionalist. I have always liked analog meters, but quite often, for what you're talking about, the digitals are easy to read, and in general, digital meter is easier to read. I mean, it's just look at voltmeter. Easier to just read off 1.113 volts than it is to try and figure out, 133,000 volt on an analog meter. But by and large, for use, digital beats in hand. But sweeping like that, you get it set up, and if you're looking for a null, times an analog meter can be better because it's going to show that null very, very sharply. And the exact value doesn't matter as much as the fact that it's lowest, and it's just a little bit on either side it shoots. So you're going to have to qualify exactly what you're trying to do. But like when I a duplexer or something like that, I prefer analog for that to get the nulls. But in general, I find digitals to be easier to read. Back over to you, Kevin, KC6USM.
A4FXC comment.
Yeah, go ahead, David. I'm glad to hear you're here.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I agree 100% with what Charles said just then. I also would mention one neat feature the SureCom and some of these new digital meters have is they allow you to calibrate them. So you can actually enter a calibration curve on some of these meters. You can calibrate them together, calibrate them against a calibrated source or whatnot. I do that on some of the SureComs, and they hold the calibration quite well. So it's there for their price point. They're an incredibly useful little thing. I wish they had was an ability to heat power as well as average. But just comment. And by the way, my biggest complaint probably is switching power supply and computing equipment. I mean that could include an LED lights, etc. But on particularly on the 2-meter band, it seems like switching it up. And HF is not as bad out since the antennas are further away, but switching power supplies and related computer hardware. Thanks
for the follow, David. And Charles, thanks for the comment as well. Fred, any further questions?
No, that pretty well answered the question. Thank you, gentlemen. K7FTS, back to you, and
Appreciate you doing your part and bringing questions to the net. Mark in 0 CKV. Mark, what's the biggest source of noise QTH, and what is your
well, good evening, TechNet. Biggest source that I know of is that I don't know of any. I don't have problems on 2 meters or 4, and I can't get on HF, so I don't know that I have any source. And my question is related to YSF. I have an M1KE, and I'm connecting to ECR via 44444, which is the correct reflector to use to connect. And yet when I connect, my M1KE shows connected to 80753. And I hear reflector information, traffic I should say, but I'm curious where this 80753 comes from.
Yeah, okay, Mark. Off the top of my head, KR of that bridge Why 1KE might be showing you another node number. Or David, does that node number stand out as anything to you?
Okay, for FXE, no. I don't know what that might be.
All right, the next question for the general consumption. Anybody else on an M1KE using the KR1P bridge on YSF and seeing different node numbers on their M1KE? Maybe strike three. Mark, I will email Rob after the net. He's one of our providers there with that bridge. Super responsive and super sharp guy. So maybe there's something behind the scenes there that's shuffling off a different node number to you. I'll give him this node number and see if it sends to him, and then I'll get back to you and see if we can give you an answer. How's that, Mark?
That sounds great. I appreciate it. And 0CKV back to...
Well, thanks for bringing it to our attention. That's certainly an... Okay, next up at the moment is Craig, Oakland Park, Florida, K4MMX. Craig, answer our question. What's the biggest source of noise at your QTH? And then go ahead with your question. K4MX, KE.
I don't know if I have it. Hold on. Yeah. Hey, good evening, Kevin, and everybody else out there. The biggest source of noise is the landlord. Slamming the door? No. But I know that you're talking about RF noise. Well, I live in an apartment that's part of a large house, and it's pretty much light dimmers, LED bulbs, and switching power supplies. Luckily, I really don't get much when I use band, UHF out, inside or my H circle. But if I try to listen to anything inside, my node, obviously, it's a few local repeaters, but other than that, it's just constant noise. And a few years back, next door neighbor that had a bad arcing power wire underground that years. So those are my sources of noise. Back to you, Kevin.
I was wondering how long it was going to be before somebody brought up an arcing power line, something like that. So go ahead with your question, Craig.
Well, it's kind of funny because Charles talked about the nano VNA and antenna analyzers, and just for some context, I threw away my analyzer. I just took it apart too many times and finally had enough of it. Bought a nano VNA, a tiny SA. The tiny SA is the same form factor as the nano VNA, but it's meant as a spectrum analyzer and also a source that you can use for low power transmitting for, like, say, doing alignments and stuff. Let it reset. The question is, on my tiny SA, which I got on Amazon through an official vendor, no matter what I do, update the firmware in it. I'm constantly getting error messages about write protect and everything, but that may be a good topic for a Zoom room conversation. But the other question is, I noticed that the thing when I'm measuring HF in spectrum analyzer mode in the Tiny SA, there's always like an additional spur that comes up, and it turns out it's not an actual spur, it's something generated inside it. That's always exactly 0.885 megahertz than the frequency I'm transmitting. There's a setting in there that you could check that says cancel mirror or something that seems to work. But is that normal for these things to have like built-in spurs that show up at exactly 1.885 megahertz on UHF? Doesn't matter what frequency, it's always that rate, that amount. I'm wondering if anybody else has.
KC6 UFM.
You beat me by a half second, Charles. I was going to give you first crack at it.
Alrighty. Yeah, good. Hello, Craig. I cannot remember the version number of the firmware of my first Tiny SA, but it had birdies all over the place. I had it maybe a week or 2 weeks, and they came out with a new upgrade, and I installed that, and that solved the problem, but there are, I never really looked to see, it matches the offset that you have, but there are still a few. I'm trying to remember it. I haven't used the thing for several months now, but I think there's 2 on UHF and 1 on VHF, and then there is another one way down in 60-meter band. They don't bother me too much now. I just kind of ignore them, and they really don't get in the way of measurements that much. But as far as your other problem with getting the firmware update, I have not encountered that. I've updated the firmware in mine several times, and any errors like that. Maybe there's someone out there who has encountered them that would have a feel for what your problem might be than I do, but I've always had real good luck on the Tiny SA and on the Nano VNAs for that matter with firmware upgrades. But the birdies, they are a problem, but once you accept them for what they are, they're not too troublesome. Back over to you, Kevin, KC6 UFM.
K4FXC.
And where it go for David?
K4FXC. There are some spurs, as Charles mentioned, and I don't remember seeing one at about 1.88 megahertz or so above the frequency that's being measured. However, some of them, there were some versions of firmware, of which I've updated the firmware on my Tiny SA several times as well. Not recently, but I have in the past, and I had no problems with their instructions depending on the version you've got. So you have to watch for that. But they're detailed instructions for how to go about it on the web. And like I said, I haven't had any problem getting it to work either, update wise. But a lot of that, the early versions of it have a number of problems that did get fixed, and I have. As Charles mentioned, there are a few little spurs here and there, but they're really nothing to get excited about from what I've seen. For what it is, it's a fantastic instrument, K4FXC.
All right, thanks, David. Thanks, Charles. And Craig, I'm going to throw out your firmware question to the general group here. Anybody has any had an issue updating a tiny SA with the firmware? Please come now. All right, nothing heard. Greg, maybe make sure you're using the correct instructions for whatever firmware you are doing. Hopefully that's the culprit. Otherwise, anything else we can help you with?
Up the net on this firmware problem, but I went a week ago. And the only thing, I finally, as my last resort, started using AI to try to figure it out. And it came to the conclusion that I have a cloned Tiny SA, even though I bought it on Amazon from CSC or something like that, which is to be an official, store for these things. So, if anybody heard of that or can confirm that they are the official vendor, please let me know. Other than that, Kevin, carry on the net. Thank you for everybody.
Yeah, comment. K9UR.
Yeah, K9UR. I saw the bridge key up there a second ago, but we didn't get any audio. Go ahead with your comment, Joe.
Yeah, most of the time the USB cable is power over, not for data transfer. So you make a different USB-C cable and try that between your computer and the SA for firmware updates. That would be my suspicion. That could be a common failure of USB-C. Some of them are designed to only carry power, and they're either or they're shielded properly. So give that a shot. K9UR.
I see one more comment.
Go ahead, David. KE7K.
Yep, absolutely. Try USB cable. What I just was noticing here on mine, in the menu, there is a menu item entitled Spur Removal, and that is turned on. That is a feature that versions of and monitor. That's in the later firmware, and I don't think it's in the very earliest ones, but you can look for that. That definitely appears to help as well. The menu item is Spur Remove, K4FXC, and it can be turned on or off.
All right, again, David, thank you for your comment, and Joe, your comment as well, and Craig for your initial question. All right, we are still questions, amateur related technical questions. I have one at the end here, and it's not radio related, so if you have a somewhat amateur radio related technical question, please come now with your call sign.
This is KT4YN. I'm sorry about interrupting. I didn't hear a thing, and I keyed up, and everybody's talking. So it must be on my end on radio. But I do have a question about battery for POTA thing.
Yeah, go ahead with your question, Joe. KYYN KE7K.
If I carry my 710 radio, which if I could, because I really like my radio, it would be a good, I know people talk about the Biano brand, I reckon that's how you pronounce it. But what kind of amperage would I be looking for as far as, a good $400 or $500 battery by no means. But something lasts 2 or 3 hours, make some contacts with. Price range and whatever they call them. What would I look for?
Before I throw it out to the group, Joe, if I missed it, I apologize. I had a salesman coming to the door and had to shoo him off. But did you say what kind of radio you're going to be running and how much power you're going to be running with it? I'm sorry.
FT710. I don't know I'll be doing 100 watts if I get out in the open away from any obstacles, so to speak, power lines and so forth. I try to work at QRP, but say I did go the full 100 watts for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. What would, as far as batteries?
Okay, Joe. Do you have any comments on a good battery for Joe for portable use? Sounds like he may run full power for a couple hours. Generally QRP, so it doesn't break the battery and can serve him for a few hours there operating mobile. Please come now with your call sign.
K4FXC.
David, you've just hit a new quota here with the company. We will be doubling your salary. Go ahead.
All right, cool. I get a salary double. That's the best news of the whole. I have 13 volt lithium iron phosphate 105 amp batteries. Of a car battery, or maybe slightly smaller, like a standard car battery, but they're much lighter weight. They're much than the standard cell, lead acid battery. But one of the lithium iron phosphate which you can buy a multitude of them out there, different varieties. You can find some recommended than others, but easily carry a 100 watt radio full power for at least 4 or 5 hours of contact duty. So that would be my recommendation. I guess the one caveat, they don't work well if you're out in freezing temperatures. That's a caveat. I mean, if you're doing a mountaintop operation in the middle of the winter, that may not be the best for you, but everything else, it works nicely. Fantastic for me. Very, very long life. A long time. Super low maintenance. So 105 amp hour, 13 lithium phosphate battery. You can get them on Amazon or all over the place. K4FXC.
Now, what kind of price range are we looking at? What's the best one you recommend that doesn't add any noise to the rest? And as far as working in the cold weather, well, that leaves me out too. So me and the battery be in the same boat. We'll be at home with some coffee.
Yeah, K4FXC. Well, the prices on everything have gone up. I'm seeing it was right about the $200 price range. I did not pay that much for, but right now there are a lot of them in the $100 price range. But let's see, you shop around and find them, and there are probably some better deals out there, but prices, all that kind of stuff seem to be gone substantial, like most everything else these days, unfortunately. K4FXC.
For that, I'll check into that. This is KQ41, and thank you, K7. Well, I'll thank you for the question, Joe, and mobile safe. Anybody else, amateur radio-related technical question, please come now with your call sign.
N70KN.
And John in Mesa, Arizona, N70KN. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I have fits with noise from the transmitter up on the pole for AC, and electric company has come out and try to trace it down. So it's not buzzing and arcing when they come out. Anyway, my question is, I got a new ASL3 system, and I'd like to migrate from simple USB to radio. The radio apparently has the DSP, and along with the DSP, filtering and automatic level control. But I've tried a number of times implementing a simple USB radio in the setup, and I have a DMK URI. But it's the CM108 version, not the CM119A, I think. So, doable? And can I, is there a way to implement ALC what I have? That's the question. N7, okay, and back to net.
Thanks for the question. David, I know it's an ASL3 node. Input on the C versus USB radio.
For FXC, I am not an expert at it. I haven't really studied what changes they've added to the drivers. As far as I know, there is no actual LC type feature in USB radio. There is a limiter, so there's a limiter function that it can be used with a transmitter per se, but it's not automatic level control, and it's much cruder than than an ALC type circuit. I know folks out there using them. I think it should work. As for setting it up, I personally haven't gone through the process. K4FXC.
Thank you, David. Anybody else comment about John's question? Please come down to the call sign. Nothing heard. Back to you, John.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. I think I'll do the hardware ALC like I used to have set up a long time ago using the recording circuit from an old 1970s vintage tape recorder. It worked very, very well. Okay, thank you. N7OKN, I'm clear. Back to net.
All right. And on behalf of Dick, I will for the Facebook page. The chat and the cool setup, the DIY. So I hope you get it figured out. I'll make a final call for any amateur radio related technical questions. Please come now.
Comment, November 7, Uniform Kilo Delta.
Okay, go ahead, Eric.
I heard you guys talking earlier about noise-related problems, and I had to join a work meeting here, so I had to jump off. But story I'd like to share with you guys about noise problems that could impact ham. So let me know if you'd like me to share that now or at another time in 7UKD.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Eric. We're getting ready to transit general check-ins anyway. Go ahead with your information.
Apologies if I'm early on that. So I did have a weird issue I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I've got 2 garage doors at my house, and one open all the time, and the other one not open. In fact, I had to drive up to it, take the remote out of put the on the door, and then click the button, and then hopefully it will work. It was a very weird issue. I did I tried antennas, I tried a bunch of stuff, but none of that stuff worked. I did a number, what we usually do is to turn off your breakers, and you turn them off one by one and try it and see how it would work. I would do it, get mixed results sometimes. Right? Sometimes it didn't matter at all, so my results were mixed. What I found, it turned out to be an old freezer in the garage. It was running. It would only affect one garage door and not the other, but being an old freezer, would definitely impact that RF. But it's something to be aware of as well too. So I hope that helps everyone. This is Eric in 7UKD.
And thanks for the comment, Eric, and welcome to the net. Okay, my technical question real quick. I own an empty lot that is across the street and down from my house. And I've got my garden over there, I take my dog over there, I spend time over there, and it is a complete cellular graveyard. I can get less than 0 bars. And what I'm hoping is get some Wi-Fi from my house over to this lot. We have an Ethernet drop at the roof on the correct side of the house. And from that point of my roof to the very corner of this empty lot is about 300 feet. And I'm trying to figure out a way to either beam the Wi-Fi over there or maybe between my house and over there. I think that would be more secure, I assume. But I don't have a readily available on that. I can run an extension cord about 30 feet back to but I was hoping to not do that. Just looking for some ideas of best way to get my Wi-Fi from my house about 300 feet away. And because I'd be broadcasting outside, I would certainly put it into a guest network for security. But you got any comments for me on Wi-Fi 300 feet away?
UFM.
FXC.
Yeah, very good. The brain trust. Got VE3RB, I think you were in there first, in Charles Case UFM, and then David, VE3RB. Did you have a comment?
I would call him.
BLM, yeah, we just saw the note, but didn't catch the full call, assumed it was the note. V3BLM, Barry, is that better? Go ahead.
Okay, well, I didn't know for sure what happened, but anyway, you can get a Wi-Fi extender. I have one out in the because there's a big cement wall between it and the house to connect into the house, and have another one in the house here to through the garage. Thermostat and cameras out there. Look into a Wi-Fi extender. They
Very, very good, Barry. Yeah, that's on my list. I just wasn't sure if the distance was those would normally want to do, but I'll keep going down that line. Charles, 6, what do you got for me?
I had a similar situation here with the difference is that the router inside is on one end of the house, and the signal on the other end of the house outside, and have stucco, so basically I live in a big Faraday cage. And I went on Temu, and I'm sure they have on AliExpress also, but they have little access that are PoE powered, and they have a small Yagi antenna. I believe it was 6 elements, or is 6 elements, I should say. And I just mounted that up at the peak of the roof on the same end of the house that the indoor router is on. Ran an Ethernet cable up to it, power and everything. And that Yagi has a tight enough beam that it gets signal all the way up to the property on the other end, and does spill all over the place. And I think I paid $28 shipped for that little access point. And the only downside, it comes from China, so expect 4 to 6 weeks delivery. But it does the trick for here, and it's I would guess about 225, maybe 250 feet from where that antenna is mounted to where the edge of our property ends. So it's also a similar distance. So that might be. I don't know. Back over to you, Kevin. Casey 6 UFM.
Yeah, that's definitely where I was kind of starting with, I think, Yagi setup. So thanks for that, Charles. And $28, and certainly if I have another baseball game cut out in the middle of an exciting play, I'm going to lose my mind. David, K4FXC. Go.
All right, FXC. Now we know why it's critical. Streaming content. Well, I traditionally used Ubiquiti navigation hardware like the Loco, and in fact, just a field day a month ago, we had a setup over a similar sized area using Loco M2s. I had 3 of them out there covering different sectors of the area. It was a fairly large field day setup, and we had upwards of 400 feet between, or maybe even more than that, between one end to the other. It was all within the 1,000-foot radius, but it was but it was a well spread out location with Wi-Fi across all of it. And These Loco M2s, you can, usually they're about $50, include the PoE adapter and everything, so it's ready to go. It has an integrated horizontal, it's a MIMO type radio, multiple input, multiple output, so it's got an integrated antenna in the unit. It's outdoor rated unit. Bang for the buck, that's just about the best I have found. Now, as far away as that is, if you may be able to get something like the with a little bit more antenna gain and up a little bit and get slightly better performance. The question I didn't hear was, do you have clear line of sight back to where the access point would be? If you don't have clear line of sight, the situation changes somewhat, but if you do, it's really quite easy and inexpensive to just kind of a walk in the park. K4FXC.
Or MMX comment.
Comment recognized. Craig, come back to you just a second. David, I'm going to say that I don't have line of sight, but after I'm done here, I'm going to go off the roof and see, because where I've got the Cat 5 drop is at the peak of my roof, and it drops the elevation down to where the lot is, pretty between the two of us, but I've got a chicken coop in the very back corner of that. I might actually be able to see that, or I could find an open spot, so yeah, I may be able to pull off line of sight.
All right, well, if you can find line of sight, of course, we're talking radio, visual line of sight will be close at 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz. You ought to be able to pull it off just fine. Then coverage, then you certainly put basically a backhaul cross over there to, like the chicken, something that you could see, put a little, like a 10 on or something, get up in the air a little, and you would have good solid coverage. Should be easy to pull off whatever case. And I've done this kind of setup for times, so easy to get set up and working. K4FXC.
You got a node there in Paulison, Arizona. Keeping it up. Check your node there. Craig, I think you had a comment. Go ahead.
Totally doing some research, but the gentleman that was talking about the Ubiquity nano station, absolutely the best thing you can get. What I've done professionally, it's not the fastest, but it's quiet. Get the nano stations and use them as a client bridge. Get the 3.6 gigahertz version, and that's pretty quiet. It's not as congested as 5 gigahertz, and you don't even want to go to 2.4. That's just a total train wreck. But that would be my recommendation. If you need some clarification as what I'm client bridge, I'm sure myself or somebody else can explain it. But they are PoE, so you just need a power injector to come with it. And you set them up on your computer. And the only thing I have to say, I've run into this, be a firmware thing, is you got to make sure when you assign IP addresses to these devices, make sure the IP address is in the pool of your LAN. Otherwise, they just act all weird. So, K4 MMX, back over to you, Kevin. Hope that helps.
K4FXC.
Yeah, everything was helpful, and it sounds like I was on the right track with a few ideas. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. David, go ahead.
There are some setup caveats, as were mentioned. and probably more than right now we need on the TechNet, but certainly there's some, you need to turn Air Max off. There are a few parameters you need to tweak to get them optimized to be used as a standard access point, but it just flip a web interface and you're done. And really easy to get set up, and they just play great. And yeah, I have been using them for, well, for example, I've got an Annotation Loco M2 in every repeat I've got turned down to 0 dBm. Very pies to it via Wi-Fi, 0 dBm inside a metal repeater cabinet, and yeah, they just play K4FXC.
Thanks again, David. Always a wealth of information. And quickly, Jerry, did you have a comment in for Oregon State University?
Same problem. Take a small generator, attach it to a hand truck, you can roll it back and forth, attach your radio and your antenna to it. You can run that small generator for about a gallon of gas indefinitely over there. It worked permanently for us, so, and for OSU. Back to you, hope it helps.
Jerry, for humoring me with my question. I'm going to recognize check-ins that we have. I'll work a few of these, and then I'll pass it over to Roger. Bob, Les, Boy, and Mike, we got all of you. KD2JPP, KK4SED, WA2UUS, KAU, Kilo 6 Alpha. I'll go ahead and work these stations. If I get a thumbs up from Roger, I'll just pass it to him after that. Bob, you're first up, KD2JPP.
Hey, Kevin, good evening, and everybody else on the TechNet. Well, Kevin, I really don't know interference or noise at the QTH, so I guess I'm that. So I hope everybody stays safe, has a great week, and I'll send it back to net control.
Great, thanks for checking in, Bob. This is net number 213 for you. So since we've been keeping tally, that doesn't go back to anything. So just since we've been keeping track, which I could tell you, but I don't have in front of me. Anyway, thanks for checking in there, Bob, and being a consistent participator. Les, KK4SED. Good evening, Les. What's the biggest noise at your QTH?
Here at 85 degrees. I guess the problem that I find is when I switch radios going into the golf cart, get a lot of noise. Something's not connected right. KK4SED.
Thanks for checking. And back to my comment to Bob, we've been tracking this net for 225 nets, 225 weeks. So, Bob, at 213, you're one consistent. Joel, WA2UUS in Buffalo, New York. What's the biggest source of noise at your QTH?
Good evening, Roger, and everyone else on the net. Tonight, I guess other than when the Bills score touchdowns, the noise level in my neighborhood is very, very high. Other than that, atmospheric noise can be an issue at times. I wish everyone a nice week ahead. Be well and be safe, and thank you, Vicki and Roger.
7-3, Joel. Have a good rest of your evening. Roy, KA8BYU. Roy, are you still with us? KA8BYU. Out of Roy. Mike, Valley Springs, California. Kilo 6, Alpha November.
Well, good evening, everybody on the, we got a source here. It's a little reading lamp that's on a desk that's about 5 feet away from my clear node. Somebody turns that light on when I'm using the clear node, and nothing I can do to stop it other than turning it off or getting rid of it, which will probably happen one of these. It's something that doesn't buzz, but that thing is to that node and it's pretty loud, so that's the only really bad source around here. Fortunately, we're on rural property and there's not a high noise level here for HF either, so all is well except for the reading lamp. Back to net control. This is K6AAN.
Good evening, Mike. Sounds like it might be time either quit reading or punt the lamp. All right, my last station this evening will be Bill in Hobbs, New Mexico, KI5PMI. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening. I don't have a lot of stuff that makes noise in the house, but I am about 60 or 80 feet away from some power lines, and they seem to like to play with it a little bit. So other than that, that's what I have. Hope everybody has a good night. Back to
Thanks for checking in, Bill. Have a good rest of your night, and I'll try to do the same here. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Roger to finish out general check this evening. Vicki, thank you. Roger, have fun. KO4QMM, KE7K. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Vicki, for logging tonight, KE8BKY. And this is Roger, KO4QM. And if you just happened along lately, you're listening to the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night TechNet. Here every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Check out eastcoastreflector.com. You'll see what we're all about, magazine, nets, Zoom room, and a lot of fun, a lot of good people. All right, I'll finish her up tonight. Flag, and we'll be doing some general check-ins. I got Shane, League City, Texas, KA5GSS, and Randy, West Seneca, New York, W2RBC. Anybody else would like to join us this evening? And our question is, what's the biggest source of noise at QH? Mine would be when I'm usually charging something, my electric bike or something out in the garage, and kitchen light. Come to your call sign twice and slow.
W-A-2-R-N-I, W-A-2-R-N-I, West Seneca, New York.
Number 7 Bravo Bravo Echo, N7BBE, Pompano Beach, Florida.
Kilo Delta 9, Uniform Quebec Echo. Kilo Delta 9, Uniform Quebec Echo. Craig in Antioch, Illinois.
K9ZPM, Mike, outside Chicago, Illinois.
Zulu Mike, Kilo Echo 8, Mike, Bill, Detroit.
K9PDN. 9PDN, Tom in St. Joseph, Michigan.
November 7 Lima Tango, N7LT, November 7 Lima Tango, Kalispell, Montana.
Echo Mike, W2EM.
Kilo Roger 4, November Vector, KR4 NXV, Quentin, Pete Beach 4.
That KR4NXB, I think it is. Will you come back?
It is Kilo Romeo 4, X-Ray Victor.
If I only gave Vicki a couple more seconds, she found it. All right, we got you, Quentin, South Pasadena, Florida, W2EM, Chuck, Lancaster, New York, N7LT, Kalispell, Montana, K9PDN, Tommy, St. Joseph, Michigan, KBZM, Bill, Detroit, W8PM, Mike, Crestwood, Illinois, UKQAE, Illinois, N7BBE, Ben, Pompano Beach, Florida, WA2RNI, Mike, West Seneca, New York, A5 GSS via text line, Shane, League City, Texas. Good evening, Shane, and what's your biggest source of
Good afternoon, everybody on the net. This is KA5GSS. I'd say that I got to ZS60KW. I got running up about 40 feet, and it can get kind of noisy at times. All the necessary things to try to quieten it down, but it's just too close. That's what happens when you move to the big right? Hope everybody has a good one. KA5GSS, back to net control. 7-3, everybody.
I know what you mean, Shane. Yeah, I had a big tree out front. We got rid of 3 trees last year, and no street lights where I live, so it helps. Randy, W2RBC, one of our team members here, West Seneca, New York. Good evening, Randy.
Good evening, Roger, Vicki, and everyone on the TechNet. The greatest source of noise is from an power line. I get intermittent wideband scale from arcing, especially when it rains. Back to net control, all W2 RBC.
And you have been getting some rain. Have a good evening, Randy. Thanks for joining us. Mike, West Seneca, New York, WA2RNI. Good evening, Mike.
And as far as we get line noise. Since they've taken out a few trees, I know how they do here. And since they're gone, we had a bad transformer in the backyard, and that's gone. So it's quieted down a little bit, but still, it's still there. WA2RNI.
Yeah, it seems like they're constantly cutting trees around the power lines here in Florida. I don't know, it might be the same other places, but they grow like crazy here. Like everybody plants trees under the power lines.
Ben, Pompano Beach, Florida, N7BBE. Good evening, Ben. What's the biggest source of noise at your QTH?
The biggest noise on my QTH is a ceiling fan on the patio. But until I had it running and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from until I looked up.
Right, at least you found out. Yeah, that's how I slowly found out things around here, kitchen lights and when I'm charging things. So you learn, shut everything down so you can do some CQ and D. Thanks for joining us. Craig, Anatoc, Illinois, 89UQE. Good evening, Craig.
Well, fine, good evening to you too. It wouldn't surprise me to actually probably buy the used ones from other states, and they've got a map where all the ham radio customers are, and put those transformers up as close to our house as possible. And boy, there was one day last year I said to my wife, the transformer on the corner is going to blow. And she says, how do you know? I turned on the speaker, and she's like, oh my goodness. And that afternoon, 3 o'clock, boom, and, one more going. So power lines and transformers, absolutely the worst offenders in of HF radio right here in Illinois. God bless them. Back to net control.
Right on. Thanks for joining us, Craig. You have a good evening. And this is Roger, KO4QMM, in Florida, your net controller for the East Coast Tuesday Night TechNet. On the Mike, Crestwood, Illinois, WA9ZPM. Good evening, Mike.
Okay, good evening, everybody on the net here. Pleasure checking in here. As far as power line noise, quite a bit because just 2.5 blocks south of me is a corridor of high tension power lines. The ones up on those real tall metal towers. And I think one set's 138 kV, and the other one's 380 kV. So it's just at least 2.5 blocks away, but I got HF that probably makes things pretty noisy. I find the HF bands, especially now, almost useless. I don't know if that's why or not. I just have a ground-mounted vertical in the backyard for HF. This is WA9ZPM.
Thanks for joining us, Mike. And I was just thinking of a story. Mike K2CMT and Joe KO4FRR were over at my house last year, and we just got done having lunch. And me and Joe were in the room here, the shack, and Mike was leaving. And I saw Mike walk by, and our electric flickered. And my tree fell down on the power lines, took out the whole neighborhood of electric, and there we are. I said, we better make it another day. That was my story. Bill, Detroit, Michigan, KE8 BZM. Good evening, Bill.
Yeah, interference from operating in the park, transformers not being grounded properly. This has been a cause of Bill Kilo Echo 8 Bravo Zulu Mike.
Thanks for joining us, Bill. You have a wonderful evening. Tom, St. Joseph, Michigan, K9PDN. Good evening, Tommy, and what's the biggest source of noise at your QTH?
Good evening, everybody on the net. Yeah, I think mine's pretty self-inflicted. My tower sits right next to a 3-horsepower pool pump, and plus there's other things that antennas on there. There's a mesh core router as well as a 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi access point. So hopefully by the end of the summer I'll get this cleaned up and get some ferrite cores on everything. Everybody have a good evening.
You have a good evening too. Thanks for joining us. And Vicky's got your answers down. 7LE. Good evening.
Good evening to everyone on the net. Name is Lindell, like Lynn and Dell put together to make one name. It always throws everybody. Last name's even worse. And my biggest noise issue, my 7-foot long wire in my backyard was the absolute perfect antenna for the longest time. It was S1 on 160 meters, S3 at worst, and enjoyed it for quite a number of years. Oh, not wonderful neighbor decided to move a 5-bedroom trailer 10 feet from my property line in the back of the property and hook it up, and a bunch of kids moved in, and my noise level went to anywhere from a minimum of S7 to sometimes 20 over S9. Pretty much killed all the bands for me. Even up on VHF and UHF I get noise. It's just what do you do? I guess maybe move further out into the country. We're already 10 miles out of town. A bit of a story on power line noise, though. My old location where I used to live, southwest Montana, 5 hours from here, had power line noise from a transformer forever, years and years. And one day, for some reason, I went and looked on the neighbor's side, noticed it was all blackened. And I could never get the power company to come out and do anything about it. They just, yeah, it's fine. But I saw that blacken, and it was about this time of year when the fires were kicking up like they are here now. And I called them up bright and early on and said, man, the weather's bad. We got a smoking transformer out here, and I think I even saw sparks. And I don't even think I hung up, and they were there. So that's a good trick that works as long as you got a black spot on your transformer. They changed it out, put a brand new one in, and never had noise again. N7LT.
Oh, good story, Lindell. Yeah, I was more focused on California, the town you're from, and not the name, but got you down now, Lindell. You have a good day, good evening, and thanks for joining us. W2EM, Lancaster, New York. Good evening, Chuck.
I really don't have any real noise problems at all. Over me, I have some fluorescent, or not fluorescent, some LED lights, and they're quiet. So I can say that I really don't have any problems at all, knock on wood. You know, next week, a transformer could go bad across the street, but right now, I'm good. So anyway, I'll send it back to net, W2EM.
No complaints there. Sounds remains that way. Quentin, South Pasadena, Florida, KR4NXV. Good evening, Quentin, and the biggest source of noise at your house.
Oh, I just got my technician license. I already had it over 24 hours, so I'm learning, so I'm not quite sure yet. But I'm sure if we had the same question again in a couple of weeks' time, I'm sure I could definitely have an answer for you. But I'm still moving around and trying to figure out what's a better location than the other. I'm on a handheld at the moment.
No worries, Quentin. You sound good, and thanks for joining us. Check out EastCoastReflector.com and join some on some chats. We have a Zoom room, and Elmer's night. They help out on Thursdays, and it's a lot of fun. Let's go to N7 FGP, Scott, Jamestown, New York. I don't even know if I called you in there yet, but we got two more, W2SAL Sal, Cheektowaga, New York, and KD6 CWI Ruben. N7 FGP. Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Roger and Vicky and everybody on the net tonight. I'd have to say it's probably my wife. No, just kidding. Probably the LEDs and bad wall warts. Thanks for doing the net.
Thanks, Scott. You have a great evening. Cheektowaga, New York, W2SAL, one of our team members too, so along with Buzz. Al.
Good evening, Roger, Miss Vicky, Scott, Chuck. Yeah, I had a couple wall wars that gave me some trouble. I got a neighbor with a lawnmower that gives me trouble, so I go over and I tune it up. I turn around and take the spark plug out and drop it, and somehow it just manages to break. So I tell him, come back next week. With that, I'll send it back to net control.
Right, I had one of those handy talk chargers out in my garage. Man, did I get rid of that thing quick. That thing made more noise than my battery charger for the car. Have a good evening joining us. Ruben, Fallbrook, California, KD6 CWI. Good evening, Ruben.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here as always at ECR. And as for the question for tonight, we don't have any noise coming in, and even on my first radio there wasn't. And this is due to the fact that when we purchased the house back in 2020, the whole electrical wiring of the house got it out, and they installed new switches and everything else, and they run on all LED lights, and so far there's nothing. So the only issue that I have here is I haven't filter yet is the garage door opener. One of my garage door opener is probably whenever I transmit in 40 meters, it opens and closes. Other than that, so we're fortunate, and the only noise that comes in is on band condition, and very prevalent nowadays based on the time that we have. We have the low ones, we're going to have probably, I think, another 10 years of low until we get another 10 years of high. And, so the band noise can vary from 2 to a maximum of 7. They never reach as high as, and that would be on 80 meters. 40 meters and 20 meters, and then the rest of the higher bands would have minutes when they're open. So have a wonderful evening and a wonderful net. I hope I participated tonight, and 73 to everyone. I'll bring it back to net control, KD6 CWI.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good evening there. And this is KO4QMM. You're listening to the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night Tech Net. Come with your call sign twice and slow if you'd like to join us.
Charlie, Juliet, Mike, CJM. Juliet, Charlie, Mike.
Whiskey Delta 8, Papa India Charlie. Whiskey Delta 8, Papa India Charlie.
W2 KJV and W2 KJV.
9 Yankee 4 Delta X-ray, Bertrand.
5 India Tango Tango WB59TT.
Kilo Charlie 3, Golf Delta. Kilo Charlie 3, Foxtrot Golf Delta.
This is number 1, Whiskey Echo Bravo, N1WEB.
2CT, K2CMT. All right, that was nice and orderly. Got my neighbor Mike in there, 2CT, DeBerry, Florida. Webb, Collarville, Tennessee, N1WEB, Ray, Elizabethtown, PA, KC3FG. Chris, Beaumont, Texas, WB5ITT. Bertrand from Trinidad and Tobago, 9Y4DX. Homosassa, Florida, W2KJV. Bill, Palmyra, New York, N2BH. Bob, Sylvania, Ohio, WD8PIC. Warpool, Massachusetts, N1JCM. Charles, Selden, New York, W2CJM. And this is KO4QMM, Roger in Central Florida. You're listening to the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night TechNet. Charles from Selden, New York, what's the biggest source of noise at your home QTH?
Yeah, my biggest source is when I leave the door open and my calls me. Otherwise, my radio sounds great. Thanks for doing the net. Have a great night.
Charles, thanks for joining us. I always enjoy it. Jeff, Whirlpool, N1JCM. How you doing, Jeff? Probably mad at me for messing up his town. N1JCM, you there, Jeff? Well, Jeff, we tried. WD8PIC, Bob, Ohio. Good evening, Bob.
Okay, good evening. Well, I have a roommate that works, he does IT work for a company in Chicago, out of Champaign, Illinois. And he has work equipment. He did provide his own router, but it's got a switching power supply and then, you know, all the various computer equipment. And I live in a condo. Each building is two large condos with a sound deadening fire break, whatever in between. Everything's buried in this neighborhood, so I don't have a lot of noise, but I do have a noise from everybody's, you know, the close people that are close to switching power supplies, and then, like I said, my roommate stuff, all of which cannot be helped. I have eliminated all my own switching supplies, save all warts and things, and a good job. External supply is on a linear, but I can't do it to all the neighbors, so I just have to, and my roommate, so I have to live with it, you know. And you know, it works. You know, you just have to live with what you have to live with. So, thanks for letting me in here. Had a beautiful day today, and tomorrow and Thursday are also supposed to be beautiful. Back to net control, WD8PIC.
Joining us, Bob, and I started thinking, I was like, I swear I remember you checking into the 20-meter net, so I looked it up on my QRZ page, and yes, we did contact you. We got to get you back on 20 net there. So think about that if you still have the option. Thanks for joining us. Bill, our team member here at East Coast Reflector N2BH. Good evening, Bill, and what's your biggest source of noise at your QT?
Good evening, Roger, Vicky, Kevin, everybody. I'm pretty fortunate here as far as noise, but I have one laptop that I use with my i7300, and when I plug that in, charge it up, it messes things up. So I try to make sure it's charged before I get on air. N2BH.
You always sound good, Bill. Thanks for joining us. And home in Sassa, Florida, another one of our team members here, W2KJV. Good evening, Tony.
Roger, good evening, Vicky, and I think Dick's listening. Hope everyone has a great night. Thank you for taking the net, Roger. You sounded great. No noise here on HF, thanks to the snap-on toroidal cores there. But I think I'm going to have an issue with HF when I put the antenna back up. They got a lot of power supplies running the radios here on the rack. Back to you, Roger. Hope everyone and a better tomorrow. W2KJB.
Thanks for joining us, Tony. And yeah, I saw Dick smile in the Zoom room today, and that's a day maker just to see him in there smiling. Have a good day. 9Y4DX, Bertrand, Trinidad and Tobago, my buddy, and what's your biggest source of noise?
KO4QMM, net control is 9Y4DX, Bertrand, yes, my location, Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. Well, let me extend a pleasant evening to all of the stations. Hope everyone is doing well. Everyone sounds good from here. Well, Roger, the most noise I make here is when there is some game on. I like cricket, football, and basketball. So whenever I get an opportunity and my team is doing well, you can hear me for a long way. Well, that's it from me. Back to you, Netcon. KO4QMM. This is 9Y4DX.
Well, thank you for joining us as always, my friend, and have a wonderful evening in the Caribbean there. Chris, Beaumont, Texas, WB5ITT. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, sir, and everybody else on the Reflector this evening. Hope everybody's having a good Tuesday night. I'm an ex-TVI RFI investigator for a major power company. I spent 13 years at Gulf States, now owned by Inter Corporation. And luckily, I've never really had a major noise issue at my house, at least from the power lines. Right now, I would say probably the biggest noise maker at my house is my pack of dogs, at least whenever they're in the play mode. But if you do have a noise issue and you cannot get the power company to fix it, contact the FCC, state regulatory group, whether it be Public Utility Commission, Public Service Commission, whatever. Yes, the power company does have to follow certain rules. No, they cannot cause noise issues at your house. That's illegal under FCC rules, Part 15 radiation limits. So it may take a little prodding, but if you do have a noise issue and you can't get the power company to come out and fix it, and of course it has to be their problem. Anything past the meter is your problem. Anything before the is their problem. And the easy way to figure that out is go outside and turn off the main breaker and see if you still have If you do, it's their problem, or one of your neighbors. If you don't, you got something wrong in the house. But if you can't get the power company to get it fixed, contact your state utility commission, contact the FCC, then get them moving. And trust me, I speak from experience. Anyhow, hope everybody has a good evening. We'll see you all in the morning. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us, Chris. And yeah, you should have seen me out on the driveway, out on the road. Sparks flying and neighbors coming out. I was giving them water and stuff, trying to keep everybody happy. Nobody had air condition. Oh my goodness. The guy coming up here soon, Mike, knows what I'm talking about. Hey, Elizabethtown, PA, KC3FGD. You got any noise, Ray?
Hey, good evening, Roger, everyone on the net. Very fortunate here in the village. No, all the utilities are underground, and I guess that saves us there. The only thing I once in a while is maybe appliance here in the house, which gives me a bit easily rectified. Hey, have a wonderful evening, Roger. We're glad to hear you on air. KC3FGD, back to net.
Always good to hear you, Ray. You and the missus have a great evening there in PA. Thanks for joining us. Buddy Webb, Collierville, Tennessee, N1WEB. You got any noise, Webb?
Roger, and thank you, Vicki, for manning the log tonight. Roger, yeah, I don't have a lot of noise through my radio. The noise problem I had was more of my radio going through to my powered speaker in the jack. I resolved that with some ferrets. Really tried to learn a lot about EFI and RFI and all of that stuff. And boy, you really need to be an engineer to track all this stuff down. Right now, everything's pretty good. Hey, Roger, looking forward to the Thursday. 1WEB.
Oh, Webb, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to the 20-meter net at 10 a.m., 14.317, give or take at 10 o'clock. And I do have my hex beam still up, so that'll be a plus. Here's my buddy Mike, the Bear 2CMT. I got all kinds of stories with you, Mike.
Good evening, Roger. Figured it out. I guess up there in Tennessee they allow ferrets. Down here in Florida, we only got possums at hand, so I don't know if it'll help my noise level or not. But I think I got to get off my hind end and get out there and flip that power main breaker and start paying attention and see what I can find here, because my noise level runs about a 6 or 7 on any other given day, and you got to be pretty like Roger's station to get into my radio. Everyone have a good evening. 73 to y'all. This is K2CMT.
Zero on most of the bands. Little bit once in a while on 40, but not too bad. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Always a pleasure. Look who's back. Roy, Blaisdell, New York, K8BYU. Good evening, Roy.
Hey, good evening, everybody on the TechNet, K8BYU. Yeah, I was having some problems earlier with Echolink. Finally got connected back up. It wouldn't connect to -R, so Tried dash L, wouldn't connect there, so kept trying them back and forth. But yeah, my biggest source of noise around here is I found a couple of battery chargers for a couple of handhelds that were really creating a lot of trash. And so I've learned that when I want to turn on the HF rig or anything, not to have those chargers running. Plus, I think it's a neighbor who has LED lights that is causing some of the stuff on my HF. But that's as far as I've gotten with that one. Back to you.
Well, thanks for coming back, Roy. We got your answer, and thanks again. This is KO4QMM, Roger in Central Florida, along with Vicky, KEAVKY, and we're in the Zoom room, and Sal's in there looking busy, and a few others. So, anybody would like to join us, come to your call sign twice and slow.
KR4 JCM, Kilo Romeo 4, Juliet Charlie Mike.
W1 OOD, Whiskey 1, Oscar, Oscar Delta.
Kilo Juliet 5, Hotel Lima.
KR4 JCM, Kilo Romeo 4, Juliet Charlie Mike.
We got you, John, Hawthorne, Florida, 4JCM, David, Garden City, Indiana, W1OOD, and Jacob, Fairfield, Texas, KJ5HHL. We'll go ahead and go to you, John, Hawthorne, Florida, KR4JCM. Good evening, John, and what's the biggest source of noise at your home?
Haven't really had any noise around Hawthorne, Florida. Currently not there in Valdez, Alaska. I don't know about the noise here other than the cars driving across the gravel in the campground.
I guess it was cars traveling across the gravel, Vicky. Not much going on in Alaska there. Not much noise. Thanks for joining us, John. You have a good one. David, Garden City, Indiana, W1OOD. Good evening, David.
Good evening to everyone on the biggest source of noise I have here is I have large LED lights that I have in the garage, so if someone turns those on, everything gets noisy into the radios. But other than that, everything's quiet. So, everyone have a good evening. W1OOD.
Right on, David. Yeah, I got anything left on in the garage. I'll know as soon as I turn 20 meter on. It'll let me know any little thing. Other than that, it's usually quiet. Jacob, Fairfield, Texas, KJ5HHL. Good evening, Jacob.
Good evening, good evening. I am actually living down here in Crystal Beach. I'm waiting on the FCC to update my address. I was getting the radio hooked up in the new truck and wanted to make sure that I was getting out. Am I coming in clear?
You sound really good. Sound like a base unit.
Roger that. Thank you. I'm on a Yaesu 500D.
Right on. Well, sounds like you got a good quiet setup there. Thanks for joining us. It says you're new. Check out eastcoastreflector.com if that's true, and you'll see what we're all about. We've got a lot of nets, Zoom room, and have a lot of fun. Check us out. At the end of that list, anybody else? Looks like we're getting kind of down to the checker flag here. Come to your call sign twice and slow if you'd like to join us tonight and answer the question.
Oh, KK4 ACE.
The 8 Zulu Sierra Kilo, KD8 ZSK, mobile.
Zero, BKB, Kilo, 0, Bravo, Kilo, Bravo.
Since we're winding down too, can throw some in and outs in there if anybody would like to be in and out, or come in and answer the question. Come to your call sign.
This is KJ5HHL again. What was the question?
Oh, you're the mobile guy. It was the noise at your home QTH, and I think you said you were out mobiling.
Yes, sir, I am. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss something. KJ5HHL clear.
You aren't missing nothing. You're doing pretty good there. Thanks for joining us. KK4ACE, Chris, Blackwood, New Jersey. Good evening. What's the biggest source of noise at your home QTH? Over.
And radio, so I guess I'm on the lucky side. Thanks again for doing the net, and I'll send it back to net control, KK4ACE.
You got it, Chris. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Mobile. Keith, I didn't see you sneak in there, mobile. Canton, Missouri, KD8ZSK. Good evening, Keith.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, and it is Canton, but it's Canton, Michigan. And biggest source of noise I found at my home was a 55-inch Sony television from like 2009. So that got moved out, and and we got another one that didn't make so much noise. Back to net control. Kilo Delta 8, Zulu Sierra Kilo, mobile.
Thanks for joining us, Keith. Sound good. Have a good evening. Brent, St. Petersburg, Florida, KOBKB. Good evening, Brent.
I mean, that control, yeah, biggest source of interference was my wife's little rumble board that she stands on that apparently even when it's off, gives off a ton of RF. But we figure out there is a power switch on it, and I think I got that problem solved finally. This is Kilo 0, Bravo, Kilo, Bravo.
Thanks for joining us, Brent. That might have drove you nuts trying to figure that one out. Have a good evening. All right, we're down to the checker flag here. Come with your call sign twice and slow if you'd like to join.
AJ9Y.
All right, we got KO4FRR, Joe, Sorrento, Florida, my buddy. Bob, Tolleson, Arizona, J9Y. Good evening, Bob. Where's Tolleson, Arizona at? What part of the Arizona? I used to live in Phoenix and such. Over.
Well, we're in Phoenix, actually. Kind of a Towson zip code. We're Southwest Valley, about 4 miles from PIR, if you remember where that was. And I'm going to say the noisiest thing in the house is probably the German Shepherd. It's outside that we're concerned with. It's the high tension wires they put in a couple of years after we moved in that really squash everything having to do with voice transmission on HF. So that's kind of where we're at. Anyway, back to net, AJ9Y, thanks.
Right on, Bob. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, I lived there back in the 70s as elementary school by Camelback Mountain. It's called Ingleside, and I went to a school called Griffith. And mostly was on the swim team with all that hot weather. As a kid, that was all right. Thanks for joining us. KO4FRR, my buddy Joe, Sorrento, Florida. What kind of noise you got at the QTH there, Joe?
Well, let's try that again. This is Joe, KO4FRR. It used to be my plasma TV, but I haven't been using it. It's stuck behind the corner, so I just need to get rid of it. This is Joe, KO4FR. Back to you, Roger. Good job.
Thanks for joining us, Joe. I brought you up when you and Mike were over at my house and the tree fell on the power lines and took out the neighborhood. That was around this time last year. Thanks for joining us again. Richard, Paris, Texas, WB9CSP. Good evening, Richard.
Yeah, good evening, WB9CSP. I'd have to say my little Linux Raspberry Pi seems to be causing me some issues. I think it's the power supply, the little wall wart that goes with it. Because every time I hook it up to one of those little battery packs that you can hook up to your phone to boost it, it seems to go away. When I hook the power supply up from the wall, it comes back. So guess I'll have to get a new one of those. But other than that, not too much else going on down here. Just trying to stay inside and stay cool. Back to you. Whiskey Bravo 9, Chicago-style pizza.
Thanks, Richard, for joining us here at the East Coast Reflector, and you have a wonderful evening. All right, last call. We're down to the last call to join us on the East Coast Reflector Tuesday Night TechNet. This is KO4QMM. Company your call sign.
KE0IHD, Southeast Iowa. Just a quick in and out check-in. KE0IHD, Southeast Iowa.
Well, you got the checker flag for the evening. Congratulations, and thanks for joining us. KE0IHD from Mount Pleasant, Iowa. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining us again. On behalf of KE8VKY, Vicky, doing great logging tonight. Kevin, VE3BZ. Charles, KC6UFM. Great job, Charles. Good to have you back. Great start of the net, Kevin, KE7K. And thanks to WB2JPQ for this whole setup here. All these people can get together and have a good time. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., open mic night. Friday, 8 p.m. is, I'm not really sure. It'll either be the Questers or Kevin doing a pop-up net We'll see. Thanks to all for tuning in tonight's net this evening. Turn the reflector back to regular amateur use. This is KO4QMM. Everybody have a great evening. 7-3!